This is a video for how to set up your equations for two-step, how to set up and solve and check for two-step equations. So I need for you to, you're going to have paper. So from now on out, you're definitely going to be using paper. You are going to label what the assignment is, of course. So this is going to be two-step equations, and this is going to be intro video. Meaning I'm going to show you how I want you to set up, how we want you to set up your problem and how we want you to check it. So you will be solving and checking. And we're going to start with our two-step equations because then you can then get into the good habit of how to do that and knowledge of how to check correctly. Then when we get into more difficult problems, it won't be so overwhelming. So we're going to take this first problem and we're going to take negative 6c plus 36 equals a negative 48. Okay, we know you've probably done two-step equations in 7th grade, but I want to make sure that in 8th grade we are very particular about how you write it and how you check it. With the equation unit, this is going to set you up for success for the rest of your math career. Now, so negative 6c plus 36 equals negative 48. Well, we're going to work these opposite order of operations. Meaning, if we knew what C was, if you knew that C was a certain number, you would multiply first, then add, and then get whatever your result is. So when we solve for C, now we're going to do the inverse operations and going backwards at the order of operations. So instead of multiplying or dividing first, as you would in order of operations, we're going to add or subtract first. Our goal is to get rid of these numbers away from the variable. You're isolating the variable. So you're going to subtract 36 because that's addition. So you're going to do the opposite. You're going to do the inverse operation, and then you're going to subtract 36. You are subtracting from the same both sides of the equation sign. Don't subtract twice from the same side. Okay? So we're going to subtract 36. So we have a negative 6c equals negative 48 minus 36. So negative 48 minus 36 are both the same sign. So you're going to add those, and that's going to be what, 84? Okay, then we have negative 6 times some number gives us a negative 84. So this is multiplication. Now this is your one step, just like you did earlier. So we're going to divide by negative 6, and C is going to equal, now 84 divided by negative 84, but divided by negative 6 is going to be positive. And then 84 divided by 6 is 14. Okay, so it's 14. So if you have to do any computation, do it off to the side. Don't do it within your work. We need to see it very precise. We need to see line by line. Okay, and we're very particular about this because it's easy to see then what you're doing. Here on the checking, you're going to plug in this solution back into the equation to see if that really is the solution to this problem. So you're going to substitute in negative 6. Now this is multiplication. So you're going to substitute in 14 plus 36. I'm going to put a question mark here. I'm going to tell you why here in a second. Equals negative 48. This question mark means we're testing to see if this side really does equal this side. So negative 6 times 14. Negative 6 times 14 is going to be a negative 84 plus 36. And we're testing to see, so we're going to work down. Negative 84 plus 36, so there's different signs, so you're going to subtract. And that does give us a negative 48. So that does prove that 14 is a solution to this equation. Okay? So then you can draw a line for the next one. Now you're writing these down with us. This is going to get turned in. This is going to be your first assignment. So you need to make sure you're writing this down and that you're turning it in. Okay, so let's try another one. Let's try, let's try this one. Negative 98 equals 4x minus 50. Now, in order to get rid of everything away from the x, notice that this side, 4x minus 50 is on this side and negative 98 is on that side, and that's okay. You don't have to have all the numbers here. So you can actually work it the other way. Now this, whatever you're doing with the variable, you do last. So that's multiplication, so we're going to get rid of that for last. So here we're going to add 50. You're going to do the inverse operation. Add 50. Negative 98 plus 50. opposite signs, meaning you're just going to subtract. So 8, 4, which one do you have more of? Do you have more negatives or more positives? Well, you have more negatives. Bring down 4x, negative 50 plus 50, that's gone. So that, don't put plus 0. You're going to then divide by 4. Divide by 4. Negative 48 divided by 4 is a negative 12. Okay, so if it helps, you can box your answers. So we're getting a negative 12. Now you're going to check. Okay, so then plug it in exactly how it is. Negative 98 equals 4 times the negative 12 minus 50. You're testing to see if this side really does equal negative 98. So we have a negative 98 equals a negative 48 minus 50. And negative 48 minus 50, they're going the same direction. They're both negative, so it's a negative 98. And this is what we want to see. We want to see your work and your checking. And yes, written work is going to be required for these two-step equations, not just a snapshot of your answer like your score, because we know there's all these type of apps and everything out there, so we want to do it. Now I'm going to show you a third one. This third one, it throws people off at times. So we're going to, let's start with this one. Let's start with negative z, with paper, write a line through it so it doesn't look like a 2, divided by 5, minus 37 equals negative 18. So again, this z, we're going to deal with this last, okay? So dividing by this 5, that's going to be dealt with last. So let's move 37. You're going to do it by adding 37. You're going to do the inverse operation. Bring this down, negative z, or even the negative outside, 5, equals negative 18 plus 37. So 37 minus 18. Notice that I'm doing my computation just over in the corner or off the side, not in my workspace here. So that's subtraction, right? So that's 17 minus 8 is 9. That's 2, 19, I believe. Okay, you can use a calculator. I just don't have one handy right now. Okay, here's where I'm going to recommend you do 2 steps in 1. Notice that this is a negative here, and there's a 5. This is saying z divided by 5, or you can think of z divided by negative 5. Now, in order to get rid of the division, this is what you did in your 1 step. You multiplied. Now, with this being a negative, you want z by itself, a 1z, so you can actually multiply by a negative 5. If you multiply these two negatives, it becomes positive. This is like saying 5 over 1. These actually cancel. So instead of dividing by 5, you can multiply by negative 5 and multiply this side by negative 5. I probably should put parentheses around that. And then you're going to get z equals positive times a negative. Now I know 20 times 5 is 100, so I'm going to take 5 away. That's going to be 95. Okay? So when you solve problems like this, that's what you can do. You can take the negative and that 5 at the same time. You can multiply it by a negative 5. Okay, now check. You can put negative 95 in for the z. So you got to be careful. So you have this negative. So you have a negative 95 divided by 5 minus 37 equals a negative 18. I do not think that's coming out right. What is wrong? Okay, hold on. Because a negative 95, okay, that's going to make that positive. And 95, oh yeah, that's right, this is right. That's going to make this positive. So that's going to be 95 divided by 5. 95 divided by 5 is 19 minus 37. Yep, that's right. I was having a little brain fart there. Negative 18 equals negative 18. Okay, so what we want to see when you're checking that you're substituting in, this is why we did the evaluating expressions, you guys. You're substituting in the value and then working it. So your checking should be at least three lines long. Okay, so let's do one more. If I said that was the last one, I lied. I apologize. This will be your last one for these notes. 11 equals negative 1 minus c divided by 2. So what you can do here, you're going to deal with the c divided by 2 last, this negative c divided by 2. So this is negative, so you want to add 1, And it's going to be 12 equals negative c divided by 2. Now you can get rid of the negative and the 2 at the same time by multiplying each side by a negative 2. Okay, so that gets rid of the negative and the 2. So negative 2 times 12 is a negative 24. So when you put it in, 11, you're testing to see if it's right, negative 1 minus a negative 24 over 2. So these minus a negative really turns into a positive 24 over 2, which 24 divided by 2 is 12, and a negative 1 plus 12 is 11. Okay, so along the way we don't know, and then you want to work down. Don't have a long string of equal signs. Okay, so that is your first video on how to solve the two-step and check. So what you need to do is you need to take a screenshot. You need to turn this into Canvas under two-step equations. It might not be this long of a title because we can't. Anyway, two-step equations intro video. You have to turn that in order for you to release the next assignment, okay? And so when you're working, you need to have a notebook. You need to have paper. Don't get rid of your work, okay? Keep it handy. So get your notebook. You should have a math notebook. And then you work all your work in here. And I would almost date these each day when you make this, when you watch the video or whatever the date is that you did. So change that date if it's not the 11th today. So I would date everything when you work it, so then you know kind of where it is. But keep it handy. Keep it, even if you take a picture of it, keep it organized. All right. Thank you.